Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna make this video real short and sweet, but I'm actually in the middle of doing a pretty big, extensive installation video on the this Holley Sniper fuel injection system. And I gotta point something out that I've been noticing. I've been referring back and forth to YouTube and the forums and whatnot as I'm doing this build, and I found something here that really kind of chaps my ass when it comes to this return line and the proper way to actually install a return line into your gas tank. There's a pretty big YouTube channel. I'm not going to mention it, but they sell a lot of Ford parts, and they do a pretty good job. When it comes to having a bunch of good stuff online. But I gotta point something out here, and if you're doing this Holley Sniper installation, you'll know what I mean when you watch it. And even Holley's kind of guilty of this too. But what you need to pay attention to when you're plumbing in a return line, right here, this is the tank out of the Project Mustang, right there. And what you need to pay attention to when you're doing these is, if you look at the instructions here, right from Holley, it shows your return coming out. This is going down the frame of your vehicle and then going into your tank. And what I've watched a handful of guys do this already, where they go through the whole trouble of drilling into their tank and adding the return bung, but then not going through the trouble of this important step here, which is adding the down tube to get that fuel underneath the resting line of the I'm sorry, that didn't make any sense. You basically need to get this return port down underneath the fuel level. If you just say stop it here, if you can kind of make that out there, if you just have the bung and you allow that fuel to just fall into the tank over and over and over again, it's going to cause aeration inside the tank. And basically what that means is it's going to make a bunch of bubbles that are going to be sloshing around in the tank. Your fuel pickup is going to try to suck up fuel at, if you look at your typical inline fuel pump, it's trying to pull fuel pressure between, 50, 60 psi, 40 to 60 psi it's trying to pull. It's going to start pulling air bubbles into that fuel injection system, and it's going to cause hesitation. Your car's going to run like complete shit. So what you need to do is, here, I have a little demonstration here of the proper way to do this, and this is the closest fitting I could find that would resemble what you're looking at here. So pretend this is what you have kind of passing through the tank here. So you have a 6AN here at the bottom, comes up, this would technically thread onto this. So pretend this is what's going through the tank. What you need to do is, once you install this, and that's a magic trick in itself, to get your fingers in here and hold the nut and do that whole thing. But once you get this installed, don't stop there and just let that fuel fall down. What you want to do is go ahead and pick yourself up one of these. This is by Earl's Vapor Guard. This is, let's see, part number 750166ERL. It's a straight hose end, right, for 3/8 inch hose. Take you a piece of fuel injection hose. This is the fitting that we're talking about here that came in that package. What you want to do is, this is going through the tank. You want to go ahead and install the hose onto here with a proper high pressure hose clamp. Okay, so install that all the way on, tighten up your clamp, and get your fingers in there. As hard as it's going to be, you'll figure it out. Get your fingers in there and thread this on underneath. So you basically make a connection. Try to do this with one hand here, but you get the point. You get my intention here. That's what you want. Okay, going down into your tank, all right? So then you want this hose going almost all the way to the bottom, just like they have illustrated here. Because what that's going to do is, it's going to allow your return fuel to come back into the tank, be forced straight down, no air in the line, obviously. Then it's going to push back down into the tank, and it's not going to create a bunch of bubbles and slosh kind of going on. So wanted to point that out. I'm almost certain I'll have this Holley Sniper fuel injection installation video done within the next week or two. I'm trying to find time to work on this in between work. But make sure you do that. You got to do your return line right. If you're going through the whole hassle of dropping your tank down, You know, some of these cars may be 30, 40, 50 years old, going through the hassle of doing that, going through the hassle of drilling into your tank, going through the hassle of dealing with the metal shavings and having your tank cleaned, getting it back, that whole thing. If you're doing that whole thing and you're just adding a bung up here and then saying, okay, that's enough, the fuel's going to return back into the system, no big deal. Go the extra step, take 10 minutes. This really takes 10 minutes to add this down line that goes into your tank and save yourself a whole world of hassle when you get this thing all put back together, you stomp your foot to the floor, and you got hesitation and bog. The whole reason why you're putting a fuel injection system on your car is to get rid of this, you know, carburetor bog and hesitation and hard starts and all that kind of stuff. Why reintroduce an issue just for the simple practice of adding a return line? It's a lot easier to do it now with the tank down than it is to reassemble everything, roll the dice, hope that you don't have a hesitation problem because of physics or geometry or gyroscopical momentum or whatever the hell you want to call it, centrifugal force. If you have, maybe you get lucky in the way the fuel falls back into the tank, it's not aerating too much. But don't roll the dice. Go ahead and put your return in the right way. Start here when you're doing your fuel system installation. This is the most important part when you're doing fuel injection, is start at the tank and then work your way up to the engine. So that's my two cents on it. For what it's worth, may have some old timers on here that say, oh no, forget it, you don't need to do it, you don't worry about it, you know, but at the end of the day, do it right. Put the down tube in there. And then another thing I also noticed is, even Holly Tech Support said to do this, is to go ahead and just, if you can't get it in the tank, your fuel inlet pipe would come down like this. Just dump it into the fuel inlet pipe. If you must do that, definitely a better option than just dropping it straight down into the tank and allowing that fuel to hit the top of the fuel level and cause bubbles. At least you'll have some time for that fuel to come in and fall, but again, it's still going to keep falling in and introducing air. The idea is to get that line underneath that fuel level so you're not introducing oxygen into the fuel. So that's my 2 cents on this. Take it for what it's worth. Obviously subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these videos, and hopefully this helps somebody. Talk to you later.